I'm gonna start recording it and keep trying. Do you guys want to try and wait a minute, or do you want to go ahead and start the meeting? And then I can always post it.
Yeah, I guess why don't we go ahead and start, and you can just post if after the fact.
Okay, I'll keep trying. I'll keep trying, and then I can always post it again afterwards.
Okay, that sounds good.
Sorry, guys.
WSSC with us? Are they on?
Yep. So good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the joint meeting, Montgomery County Delegations Metropolitan Washington Area Committee and the Prince George's County Delegations Bi-County Committee meeting. Thank you to Vice Chair Charkoudian and her team for putting this meeting together, and to the delegation staff, Michelle, for setting this up. Thank you to our partners at WSSC for being here to brief us so we can better understand some of the policy issues that we need to know about. So just a quick housekeeping issue is that the Montgomery County delegation, we do have our fall meetings coming up. So our bill hearings will be in early December, and they will be virtual. And then we are going to be front loading our work in the delegation, Montgomery County delegation. So I expect we will have a committee meeting for the Metropolitan Washington Area Committee in the middle of December, so that we can start looking at bills and possibly moving the ones that are the more straightforward ones, especially bills that might have passed last year that aren't real complicated. And those would move on to the Montgomery County delegation, possibly for a meeting in the first week of January before the session begins. Vice Chair Charkoudian, do you have anything to add?
Just thank you. We get some kind of an echo. Thank you all so much for coming, and Chair Valderrama, if you maybe will be speaking in a second. Thanks for coordinating this with us. I'm excited. It's the first time since I've been elected that we've had this joint meeting, and of course we have. I know everyone on this call and all of our colleagues have been working really hard to help our constituents through this really hard time. And one of the questions is, how do folks pay the bills? And there's multiple different kinds of bills, but one of them, of course, is the water bill. And so I know that there's a great interest in figuring out what is happening right now, what is currently available, what are the current rules around cutoffs, and then understanding if there are other steps. I know in brief conversations and reviews that I've done, if there's a question about whether there's legislative steps that are needed to be taken to ensure that WSSC is able to work with customers to make sure that, especially right now, we're really protecting our constituents. So I'm going to want to thank everyone for coming together today. Thank WSSC for being here, and look forward to hearing where things currently stand, and then considering with the two committees what we might need to do to protect constituents in this area.
Chair Valderrama, anything to add?
No, you guys pretty much covered everything. I just want to say thank you to the Montgomery County Subcommittee for the invite. We were discussing doing a similar, so this probably kills two birds with one stone. So just want to say hello to all the Montgomery County, my honorary county, and to my members. I don't know if all the members are on, but my Vice Chair, Andrea Harrison, if she's not on, she'll be on shortly. Delegate Nicole Williams, Delegate Derek Davis, and Delegate Ann Healy are supposedly going to be joining at some point during this meeting. But I also want to especially say thank you to WSSC, to Carla, to Guy, to everyone who's participating. Thank you for taking time out of your schedule. I know we've spoken a couple times prior to this meeting, so I definitely appreciate the networking that we are doing, and truly trying to help the constituents in both our counties. So with that, let's get started.
All right, thanks. So with that, I'll hand it over to our colleagues over at WSSC, and please go ahead in whatever order you'd like to go ahead.
Madam Chair, members of the committees, Guy Andes, Government Affairs Manager Walker. Thank you.
Oh, Guy, we can't hear you.
Guy, you're breaking up there.
Mm.
Guy, I can do the quick introduction if that's okay while you get your earphones together. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Karen Riley. I'm the Director of Intergovernmental Relations for WSSC Water, and we do thank you all for the opportunity to discuss what we're doing in the affordability space. I think you'll find with our presentation this afternoon that we are actually doing a lot more than some of our energy and electricity counterparts. And we certainly are leading the standard for water utilities throughout the country. As you can imagine, this has been a very trying time for all of the water utilities across the nation. And we have worked collaboratively with our counterparts in other areas within the state and also throughout the country just to identify what some of the best practices can be, and making sure that the activities and things that we're doing are not only aligned with what our counterparts are doing, but what we're doing is within our fiscal capacity to do, just to put it quite frankly. And we'll be able to showcase today some of the impact that the COVID pandemic has had on us and our ability to collect revenue, how we've used some of our excess revenue to enhance our affordability programs, and what our next steps are going forward, not only in response to the pandemic, but also some of the activities and initiatives that we're taking just as part of expanding our affordability programming ongoing. So I think that those are the things that we're happy to discuss and happy to see how we can continue to assist our customers in collaboration with the counties and the state. We even are having discussions at the federal level. I actually talked to Senator Cardin's office last Friday just to say, hey, I know you all are looking at some legislation. I know it's a bit stalled because we have other things going on, but I know they're looking at legislation to expand customer assistance for water utilities at the federal level. Finally, they're taking a more serious look at it because this pandemic has been the impetus for getting that type of support, those types of appropriations for us. So with that, Guy, I don't know if you're ready or.
We'll try it again. How about now? Can you hear me now?
You sound a lot better.
Okay. I got rid of the earphones and we'll just go like this. Thank you for stepping in. I'm going to share my screen so we can get to our presentation.
Guy, you sound a little bit far again.
Just get to where we're sharing the screen. As Karen said, thank you all for allowing us the opportunity to provide this briefing on the impacts that the COVID-19 pandemic has had on WSSC water and our customer engagement that we've had with our customers throughout this pandemic. Here's an overview of the presentation that we're going to be providing. With us are the following WSSC team members. We have Deputy General Manager for Administration, Joe Beach, Deputy General Manager for Strategy and Partnerships, Monica Johnson, General Counsel, Amanda Kahn, Director of Intergovernmental Relations, Karen Riley, Director of Customer Service, Crystal Knight Lee, our Budget Division Manager, Letitia Carolina Powell, Government Affairs Manager, Monica Marquina, Management Support Specialist, Nathan Shirar, Associate Counsel, Heather Ashbury, and as you know, my name's Guy Andes. I'm a Government Affairs Manager here at WSSC.
Hey, Guy, if I could just interject real quick. Everyone seems to hear you much better when you're closer to your speaker, so don't push back. Thanks.
I might lean down, so
That's
sorry
fine.
about that. So during the presentation, we're going to provide an overview of the impacts the pandemic has had on our revenues, what we are doing to meet our customer expectations, the existing affordability programs we have in place right now, COVID-19 related actions that the Commission took, current affordability enhancements that the Commission has taken, what our next steps are, and then we'll open it up for questions and discussion. Letitia Carolina Powell will describe.
Good afternoon. This slide shows the impacts that the pandemic has had on our revenue. As of August 31st of this year, we have over almost 95,000 accounts that are now past due. The past due amounts of these accounts is almost it's over $56 million. To put this into perspective, we would need a rate increase of about 8% to recoup these revenues.
Good morning, everyone. Good afternoon, everyone. Crystal Knightley, Director of Customer Service. And so the next few slides, I'd first like to give you just an overview of how we're continuing to meet customer expectations, and then I'll talk a little bit about our affordability programs. So what you're seeing right now are some of the metrics that we report to our commissioners. First, accounts billed on time. This is to show that we are billing our customers on time at 99.6%. For our call center, our average speed of answer is roughly 3 minutes, and we're actually under the 4-minute target. And for calls answered, we are answering about 90% of our calls on time. So we just wanted to give you a perspective of some of the metrics that we are tracking and reporting to our commissioners. Next slide. Okay, this is a snapshot of our customer affordability programs. These are some of our major programs. So as you may know, we partner with the Office of Home Energy Programs to extend a customer assistance program that actually waives the fixed fees for our customers, and that's roughly $112 annually. We also partner with the state of Maryland to collect funds for the Bay restoration. And there's a $15 exemption that can be available, or that's available to low-income customers, and that's roughly $60 annually. We have a flagship water fund, which is our major crisis intervention tool that assists customers who have troubles paying their water and sewer bill. We also offer very flexible payment arrangements for our low-income customers. Those arrangements can span up to 48 months, and for non-low-income customers up to 24 months. We also offer a loan program in partnership with our credit union. That loan program is in place to assist our customers who might experience leaks on property. And then we also offer high bill adjustments. So our customers who might experience leaks on property, we do offer a bill credit. And for our low-income customers, they can receive up to 100% of the excess water waived from their account. Next slide. Okay, so this slide is showing our total participation in our customer assistance program, and you can see that over the past few years, we've seen steady improvement in enrollment. Since FY16, we've experienced about a 90% growth rate on the number of customers that are enrolled in our CAP program. Since FY18, that number has increased by about 20%. Currently, we have 13,600 customers in our CAP program, and just since the beginning of the fiscal year, we've seen about a 1% increase. Next slide. Okay, this chart is showing you our water fund utilization. This is a look back over the past fiscal year, and you can see that in both counties, the fund is being utilized pretty well. For FY20, we served over 2,800 customers, and that assistance was close to $350,000.
The average case was $407.92. For July, and we're still reconciling the numbers for August. For the month of July, we've assisted 227 customers, and that equated to about $28,000. All right, next slide. I believe, Guy, I'm turning it back over to you.
Yes. So what this slide shows here is a pie chart of the 94,500 accounts that are past due, which equates to $56.2 million of past due. What this shows is 97.3% of those accounts that are past due are not on a pay plan. That represents $54.7 million. Only 2.7% of those 94,500 accounts are on a pay plan, and that's about $1.5 million worth on the pay plans. In the right now, we have 2,599 accounts that are tied to accounts with past due amounts. We have 3,186 total pay plans active as of August 31st. And what you see in the lower right-hand corner, our plans created have actually decreased during the pandemic period on average, where from July 2018 through February of 2020, we created on average 4,730 pay plans a month. After the pandemic the pandemic came along, in March through August, we're averaging 1,861 of these plans created. As you can see, folks, we know that there's a tremendous need for people to get on pay plans, but we are doing our best to reach these customers, and Crystal will talk about what we're doing to encourage these customers to actively engage us for these pay plans.
Thank you, Guy. So we are working very closely with our communications team to make sure, first of all, that our customers know that we have pay plans that can be available for them. We are sending direct mail letters to our customers that are past due on accounts. We are also working to arrange to have a robocall sent to customers. And then for those customers with higher balances, we are planning to make direct phone calls to them to encourage them to pay, but also to let them know what affordability programs we have available to help.
Okay, so I wanted to talk about a couple of the COVID-19 related affordability activities that we've taken in relationship to our affordability programs, and then talk about some of the general affordability enhancements that we were already planning on doing prior to the pandemic. So the first one, as we all know, there was a statewide moratorium on shutoffs. But prior to the governor issuing his executive order on March 16th, WSSC Water actually proactively took the steps to declare a state of emergency on March 12th. And we suspended our moratoriums 4 days before it was mandated by the state. As we all know, the executive order expired on September 1st. However, we are still under our state of emergency, our declared state of emergency. So we currently have a moratorium on our shutoffs. So after the executive order expired, our General Manager, CEO Carla Reed announced that we would continue with our moratorium. Now, with this moratorium, there is a revenue loss of about $150,000 a month, which is what we collect in the turn-off and turn-on fees. So that is something that we are currently absorbing right now. The other COVID-19 related affordability action, again, taken prior to the issuance of the governor's executive order, is the suspension of late fees. Again, we suspended that on March 12th, 4 days before the executive order was issued. And while the executive order has expired, we are still operating under a state of emergency for that as well. And we have suspended late fees, and that comes with a revenue loss of about $850,000 a month. So those are things that we had done in correspondence with the pandemic. All right, so here's some affordability enhancements that we were already undertaking prior to the pandemic. We were looking for ways to expand how we were able to help our most vulnerable customers anyway. And I also want to kind of back up and tell you that as part of our transition into the new normal and our response to the pandemic, we actually had a customer affordability and engagement task force where we took a deep dive into how we were looking at our affordability and what we could do in light of the pandemic to enhance what we were doing. So I'll discuss some next steps after this too. But I want you all to know that we did take this very seriously internally. It was a cross section of course, my team, Crystal's team from customer service, the finance team, and a myriad of others, communications team, so we could figure out how to best service our customers. So the first thing that we had already done is we adopted a $3.2 million affordability budget in our fiscal year 21 budget. That was about $324,000 over what we had allotted to customer affordability for fiscal year 2020. And that was very important to us because it helps us to not only expand direct assistance, but also the customer education piece. Unfortunately, since we cannot be face-to-face with our customers, we cannot do the customer education, but we really are developing a plan about water conservation so that our customers can help lower their bills based on the usage. We do have some social media activity and we have videos that we created to help educate our customers about things they could do, especially while they're at home using more water during this pandemic to lower their water usage. And we have that in both English and Spanish. The second thing that we did is we extended payment plan options. Generally, we would take, if a customer wanted to go on a payment plan, we would usually look at about 25 to 50% of the outstanding bill to be paid upfront before they could go on a payment plan. However, we have relaxed that, so we really work with individuals on a case-by-case basis. And so it depends on how much money they can pay. They can enter into a payment plan. We will work with them to customize a payment plan. And just as an FYI, for our customer affordability program or our CAP participants, their payment plan can be up to 48 months. For our non-CAP customers, they can be up to 24 months. So that's about 2 and 4 years that our customers will have to pay back on a payment plan. And I'll discuss some of the next steps with that going forward. Another thing we did was increase access to our water fund assistance. We currently have about $528,000 in our water fund. As Crystal showed in a prior slide, we do have people who are accessing it. I think last year we spent about $400,000 from our water fund to help offset some of the bills for our customers who needed it the most. But one of the things we realized, well, two things. Again, prior to the pandemic, initially the maximum you could take from the water fund was $300 a year. We increased that, the general manager increased that to $500 a year. And then we also realized that there was an issue where you could only access the water fund once per year. So you could only make the ask once per year. So if you had a bill and you at that time needed $250 for your bill, you can only ask for that one time. But if you had a subsequent bill that you could have used the extra money or extra $50 for at the time when it was $300, you could not come back to the water fund and ask for that extra money. However, once we realized that that was a hindrance, that changed, and the general manager and CEO Reed made that effective as of August 1st. You can access up to $500 per year, no matter how many times you ask for the water fund. And finally, a big thing for us, speaking of the water fund, we now have a customer engagement and advocacy role under Crystal Knight-Lee's shop. Her name is actually Kelly Kaplan, and she's coming from Washington Gas, where she managed the Washington Area Fuel Fund. Because one of the things that we needed to do was create and implement a development and advancement plan for the water fund. So she's working on that, and she's spearheading that in addition to some of her other engagement and advocacy duties. But that is a very critical part of what we're doing. So we are looking at how we bolster, of course, internal and external donations. Just for frame of reference, the water fund was actually started about 26 years ago by WSSC employees who saw that there was a need with the customers that they were serving. So we're looking at how we bolster the external donations to the water fund to make sure that we can meet the mandate of needs. So, and I'll turn it back over to Crystal with that to talk about our customer engagement activities, and then we'll talk about next steps.
Thank you, Karen. So we understand how, significant this pandemic has been on our customers, and it's important to us that we connect with them. In June, we launched what's called a Here to Help campaign to provide our customers with information and assistance through a number of different tools. So we have a new estimated bill postcard. So for customers who might get an estimated read, we're encouraging them to either give us a call or to go online to actually enter their meter reads so that they can have an actual bill generated. We are posting a lot of information over the website so that our customers know what is available for them. We also have posted information in our customer newsletter, which comes out every quarter. We've added special messaging on the bill, and we've also produced a number of customer videos that are posted to our website. So we've taken a lot of extra steps to make sure that our customers know that we're here to help. And as Karen mentioned, we work one-on-one with our customers to see, what are they able to afford? How can we assist them with their water bills? So Karen, I think I'll turn it back over to you.
Okay, so here are our next steps. We are currently evaluating the feasibility of extending the late fee and shutoffs moratorium. I know that is a question now that the PSC has issued their directive to that. I think the energy companies could resume as of October 1st and start issuing it as of November 15th. We are not quite there yet because we are looking at other metrics. We continue to look at, of course, the COVID-19 rate. We also look at the unemployment rate of the counties that we serve. So we are in that discussions. So we don't have a date certain by which we will start collecting the late fees or shutoffs. We do know that it will not be before the end of the year, just out of respect for the fact that our customers, this water is so critical to public health, and we're in the middle of a pandemic. So we know we need to be closely monitoring that health situation before we make the decision to resume shutoffs or late fees. So those are the criteria that we will be using. Another thing we're doing, I mentioned before that non-cap customers have 24 months on a payment plan. We plan on asking our commissioners to extend that regulation to 36 months to give them 3 full years to pay off past due accounts. And again, on a case-by-case basis, what will work for them, what affordability program will work for them. We, again, are continuing to evaluate the policy for an amount of shutoff and reconnection fees. We are looking at whether the cost of service is aligned with our true cost of service. We do this every year as part of our budget process, but extra scrutiny this year, of course. And then we are going to evaluate the feasibility of an arrearage forgiveness program for our customer assistance program customers. And we look to have some determination in March of 2021. And again, we're looking at, what will the fiscal impact be on our budget, and also how we can successfully do that. So I think that's it for us. I think if you all have any questions, I see that Delegate Carr has asked them to please be posted in the chat, and we have pretty much everyone we can think of from our team here, so we should be able to answer as much as we can. So thank you all for the opportunity. We look forward to your questions.
Okay, so thank you very much for that informative presentation. For the first question, I would like to go to Delegate Valderrama.
Thank you, Chairman Carr. And thank you, WSSC, for the thorough presentation. I really appreciate it. I'm glad to see near the end and forgive the lighting here. Anyway, the feasibility programs that you have foreseen to hopefully take place this coming, I think I saw March or January, February, March. My question is, given my members and we represent Prince George's County, where quite frankly, besides the UI issue, another issue is their arrearages that they are encountering when it comes to all types of utilities. Now, I can say for myself personally, when I saw my WSSC bill not too long ago, I almost fell out of my chair because I'm used to a certain budget. And I was like, oh my God, this like jumped up by like significantly about $100. So I actually took the time, as I told Vice Chair Charkoudian, sometimes I just pay my bills, I don't even look. And then I took a look and I see that there was I forget the percentage, but there was an increase, which I believe, is that an annual? So, you know, when I see things like that, I'm fine with that, but I'm also someone who, knock on wood, is able to afford, you know, the bills that come our way so far anyway. Again, knock on wood. Having said that, I am experiencing quite a bit of a constituency issues to include their bills, but most specifically WSSC, because of the quarterly, and I guess people don't take into account increases. So with that said, and if I missed it, I apologize. I was trying to pay specific attention to everything that was said. But when it comes to the arrearage plan that I saw that was mentioned, let's say, because I do have a constituent who's really behind, unfortunately, both the supporters of the household were furloughed, you know, that type of thing. So I don't know, I'll make up a number, $5,000, something like that. So when the arrearage plan that you have perceived, how would that, I guess what I'm trying to say is, would they, what's the easiest way to say? Because I also saw something about 36 months. I guess the simplest way to put it is they're not getting paid. They haven't been paid for months and months, as we all know. How would they realistically be able to pay this arrearages in the increments that whatever would be planned out, especially if they're still not back at work? I hope that question came across as clear as possible, because while I understand there's the effort to have these plans, which I'm very appreciative of, is there a chance that some parts of that arrearage might be forfeited and then they start from a certain amount, if you get where I'm going with this?
Yes, thank you for your question, Delegate. That is something that we are still looking at. The first thing I would encourage anyone in that situation to do is really to call us. And I know we have had those calls where people have not been getting paid. And I see Crystal shaking her head, but that is something we can definitely talk through and work through their individual situation, because if they qualify for like OHEAP, and because they're not getting paid, we would help them, connect them to the Office of Home Energy Programs so that they could really receive relief from there. And as soon as they're registered with them, they're automatically registered with us for the customer assistance program. But the arrearage thing is something that we are, sorry, my light comes on automatically in the back and it just popped on. So it is something that we are, again, going to be discussing with our finance team. I see our Deputy General Manager of Administration, who oversees, and former CFO, is on the line, but it's something we have to discuss with them to make sure that we are able to financially extend that help to those people who need it the most. But the first step for us is please call us, because we understand that those are situations that are happening now, and we will work with them to the extent we can. But that is something we are definitely looking at, and it is a consideration because we know there are customers out there like that. Crystal, I don't know if you had anything to add.
I did. Thank you, Karen. The other thing I would say is definitely to have the customer call us. We have some great relationships with the faith-based community, and some of our, in our church community, there are some organizations that will actually help and assist our customers with their bills. So we do encourage you to let your customers know or constituents know to give us a call. We have a customer engagement specialist that is very passionate, and she works one-on-one with each customer to see if there are other available options or other funding sources that might be of help. So just wanted to relay that, and I'm sure, Karen, you can relay our contact information if necessary.
Thank you, ladies.
All right, so next, the order of questions will be Chairman Corman, Vice Chair Charkoudian, and Leader Lukey.
Thank you, Chair Carr. Thanks to WSSC for being here. Really appreciate all the efforts to help those who are having trouble right now, keeping up with the bills and all the different programs you outlined and all the one-on-one attention. Obviously, it's very unlikely you're going to be sort of fully funded and made whole by all those ratepayers who are in difficulty right now. So I didn't think I heard much about your cost containment plans for how you're going to keep your own costs down, since you're just not going to have the revenue that you normally do from the ratepayers. And just as an example, WSSC unusually has its own police force, which no other regional water utility that I'm aware of does. Their budget's up about $2.5 million over the past 15 years, but the headcount's been flat. So I'm just sort of curious about cost containment efforts. That's one example, but just across the board, obviously we need to replace pipes and make sure we're not having water mains break, but there has to be a way to make sure that the revenue you're collecting matches the cost that you're incurring. So curious about that.
Karen, I can handle the cost containment question if you'd like.
Yes, sure.
Thank you for the question, Delegate Corman. When the pandemic started, we saw the sort of the scale and magnitude of it on our customers. We initiated an FY20 cost containment program. So we identified about 60 million in savings in the last quarter of FY20. It was a very effective program that was about 7% of our operations budget. We also implemented a FY21 savings plan that identified about 71 million in reductions, which is about 8% of our budget. And our departments are monitoring and complying with those reductions as well. As we're forming our FY22 budget, we're looking for similar cost savings as well, and are going to incorporate that. So one of the first things we did was to control our costs, was to inform our departments that we had to identify efficiencies. And so that's is definitely guiding us in the FY22 operating budget as well.
Thank you very much. And unlike Chair Carr, I don't actually read your meeting agendas every month. So if you wouldn't mind sending the cost containment documents over to the delegation, that would be great.
Yeah, will do.
Thank you.
All right, Vice Chair Charkoudian.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So thank you all for being here. One just very quick question. First, let me just say thank you for the decisions around extending the moratorium even without the governor's requirement for that. And it sounds like you're saying that your thought is that it is likely to extend throughout the rest of this year. And I'm just wondering if you can let us know as soon as you have a sense of when it's going to be lifted, you know, like as far in advance as possible, so that we can communicate with and work with our constituents to make sure they can have the information they need.
Yes,
Okay,
we will. And we're also going to put a rollout plan around that as well. So it won't just be, okay, next month we start. It will be a comprehensive education and public outreach plan as well, so that people are prepared. But we would love you all's assistance and your partnership and making sure that people know, even if we do make that, when we do make that decision, we still have these affordability programs in place. So, you know, and even now, if you can encourage them to call us and we'll work with them.
Okay, so the second piece is I'm trying to track the various ways people can get help, and it sounds like a really important piece. We're all encouraging folks who qualify to engage with OHEP and get assistance. Generally, it sounds like that would automatically get them into the CAP program. Is that right? But in terms of the funds that come from OHEP, that funds only a small piece of it. What is it that, in terms of the funding sources, the OHEP, it sounds like, makes people eligible, but it doesn't fund a significant amount of the actual support. Is that right?
They don't fund any of the support. We use them for eligibility purposes.
Right.
The support comes directly from our general fund. So
The water fund.
their funding helps with their energy bills. So whomever's registered through them will only get their energy assistance from them. But administratively, we would not be able to qualify and track the people who are eligible. So we just use their list. So we partner with them to administer that.
So it's not possible to get like water fund support, for example, if you're not enrolled in OHEP. Is that right?
No, so the water fund is different. The water fund, you would just apply through the Salvation Army. So so our customer assistance program, our CAP program, and our CAP funding is ongoing. Whereas the water fund, you have a limit of the $500 per year. Our water fund, our CAP program eliminates the fixed fees, and it also eliminates the day restoration fee on behalf of the state. So that is ongoing, yes. You just have to recertify every year with OHEP.
That's what being,
yes.
That's what being enrolled in OHEP gets you.
Yes.
Is that right? Okay. And I think the last question, so there were some sort of technical pieces, for example, that I had read about as a challenge. For example, the once per year rule. It sounds like you're addressing that, which is good. I feel like at some point in the last few months, I had seen something from WSSC that suggested that there was a statutory change that was necessary to correct something that kept you from being able to provide some of the supports. And I apologize that I don't have that in front of me. Do you know what that might have been that I saw a few months ago? And can you tie it to what we're looking at now?
We did actually, the Maryland General Assembly in 2018 gave us the capacity to extend our customer assistance programming to renters who are in a multifamily and master meter, or they pay their water fee their water bill as part of a common ownership fee. So the issue we have with that is just the logistics. How do we get to the people who are in need of that? So that's something we're actually working on, and we have an internal working group trying to figure out the best way to get those types of monies to those people. That's a little bit more challenging than maybe like an energy company, because you can't break out the master meter, so we don't know who's eligible for what. But we don't need a statutory change for that right now, because we already got that permission a few years ago.
Okay, so there's not something currently that's in statute that's keeping the, okay, I'll try to track down whatever it might have been that I saw, and I can follow up with you.
That would be
Thank
helpful.
you.
Thank you.
Okay, Leader Lukey.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And thank you all for the presentation. And I appreciate WSSC's commitment to trying to help out folks that are struggling. My questions, as I mentioned in the chat, are very off topic from water bill affordability, but the entire northern border of my district is your land. So that's where the questions are coming from. So first, I appreciate that WSSC made the decision relatively early in the pandemic to waive the requirement for watershed use permits. That people could take advantage of outdoor recreation as opposed to, gathering in places where they might spread COVID. And, we've seen a lot of, I don't know if you've been tracking, but just anecdotally, a lot of recreational use along both of the reservoirs. So I'm curious whether there are plans to continue that into the 2021 season if the pandemic continues, if there have been any conversations about that.
So I can be honest and tell you, I have not participated in any of these conversations. However, now that you have brought that to our attention, it's something we can definitely take a look at. I'm trying to read it. We can definitely take a look at as part of what some of our initiatives to help the mental health of people, mental and physical health of people, quite frankly, during this pandemic. So that is something we will definitely get back to you on, but it's something we will look at, because that is obviously something that will be beneficial to our customers in a different way.
Yeah, I appreciate it. And I know also that because of concerns about the pandemic, some of the normal enforcement that goes on the recreational lands had been limited because you didn't want to expose your staff to potential COVID and all of that. But now that hunting season started up, I was curious if enforcement has restarted.
I can definitely follow up on that as well. For as many of you all know, we did suspend in-person visits. We just got our in-person customer service payment center back up and running on a limited basis. For as far as protecting our reservoirs, I know Delegate Corman mentioned that we are one of the few water utilities. We're not the only one. Baltimore has their environmental police that patrols their reservoirs as well. But there's something that we will definitely look into doing, because we, in addition to the balance with the public health, the physical health, and the safety of our patrons who use the reservoir. So we'll definitely look into making sure that that's started back up. But I do know they have been patrolling.
Okay.
They have been patrolling. I don't know what their enforcement looks like right now, but I do know they have been patrolling and they're out there for that reason. Yep.
Gotcha. I appreciate it. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
I had a question, and this has to do with the late fee. So if, correct me if I'm wrong, if I remember correctly, the late fee is set in statute, and it's maybe it's 5%. You can tell me what it actually is.
I'm going to defer to Heather on this one. I can't remember off the top of my head.
I'm curious, how does the late fee for WSSC compare with late fees for other utilities such as gas, electric, etc.?
I can answer the first question about the amount. It is 5%. I don't have that competitive scan. I don't know if anyone else on our team is able to answer that. We can definitely get back to you on that question.
Okay, because it seems like if it's in statute, it's probably been in statute for a long time, and I'm just kind of curious how that compares to similar types of utility fees. Thank you. Are there any other questions? Seeing none, thank you.
Actually, I have one quick.
Chair Valderrama has a question.
Thank you. It was more of a follow-up on Vice Chair Charkoudian's request with OHEP. I don't know if it was Crystal or Karen who was responding, I forgot. But would there be, besides this PowerPoint presentation that you have, could you provide some of that process, the OHEP process, for the members? Is that a possibility?
We'd be happy to.
Great. Thank you.
We'll work through Karen's team through IRO to get that information to you.
Okay. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
All right. Anybody else? Any other questions? Vice Chair Charkoudian.
Thank you. Yeah, if I could just, I actually have been involved in some of these similar, I'll just mention this. I've been involved in some of these conversations about how to get I think it's MEAP, but not LIHEAP, whatever it is. There's the energy money that is available to people who are in multi-metered buildings, whether that's multi-family condos, a lot in this area, or also rental units. So I've been involved in some of those conversations trying to figure out how to make that happen. So and I get that there is the complicating factors of sort of not having people paying that direct bill, and that is the communication channel. So if you could just stay in touch with us as you're working through that. And I'm also in touch with folks at HHS and in the county and DHS at the state level to try to think through those challenges. And if there's bigger solutions that we can bring to that, it's not clear exactly what needs to happen, but I just would welcome the opportunity to work with you as you're figuring that out, because there's a lot of pieces to that we have to get right in general, but especially right now and for the next few months. And I don't know if there's statutory changes that would help with that or not, but it's something that I'm looking at. So.
Any other questions? All right. Well, we are way ahead of time, so thank you very much to WSSC for the very helpful information, to all you, to the staff for setting this up. Vice Chair Charkoudian, you and your staff for setting this meeting up. So for, again, Montgomery County delegation, our bill hearings will be in the first week of December virtually. And then for Metropolitan Washington Committee, we've reached out to members. So our first meeting date after the bill hearings looks like it's going to be either December 15th, 16th, 17th, Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday. If we haven't heard from you, let us know if you have a preference, and we can get that meeting on the calendar. Thanks again, everybody, and we will see you soon.
Thanks, guys.